And welcome everyone to a new season here on the Bleacher Report app. I'm Andy Katz. We're going to break down the AP Top 25 poll. My Power 37, you see to the right on your screen. Then we'll get to my Player of the Week, Team of the Week, games to watch. And as always, I'm going to take your questions. You're going to be ripping me. Some are going to agree with me. But that's what we do here. And remember, these rankings are all a snapshot in time, week to week. They are not the seed list. They are not the net. That's different. When we get into February and we're doing brackets, sometimes the bracket will look different than the AP Top 25 poll or my Power 37 because they're dealing with the body of work versus a snapshot in time. All right, so let's go to the AP Top 25 poll. Kansas was the preseason number one. This is the first regular season poll, of course. Last Monday there wasn't one. It was just the preseason poll from October. They're the preseason one. As you see there, I agree with that. I flipped my Alabama and Kansas based on who Kansas beat, and Kansas held off North Carolina. North Carolina made an incredible 20-point comeback that fell short. So I've got Kansas 1, Alabama 2. Alabama's schedule is going to really pick up beginning this Friday at Purdue. UConn 3, again, we agree. The Huskies, their schedule is going to pick up again, as we progress, certainly in Maui. They've got Baylor coming in. They're going to play Gonzaga. They've got Texas. So there are plenty of opportunities for the Huskies to be challenged. Alex Caravan is living up to his preseason hype. At 4, Gonzaga. The Zags absolutely obliterated Baylor. Then in game 2, Arizona State, which got hammered in an exhibition game at Duke, actually really challenged Gonzaga. So down to the last couple of minutes. So a good win for Gonzaga. 2 really good wins at home back-to-back. Well, one was Spokane Arena, the other one at the Kennel. So top 4, same top 4 teams in my polls you see on your right as in the AP Top 25. Just a little difference in 3 and 4. Auburn at 5. Auburn with the crazy story that went viral of the players getting a little bit of a scuffle on the plane, having a turnaround. They end up making their way back to Houston, and they end up beating the Cougars. Great win for Auburn. Auburn's got a great schedule this season, and they've got, I think, one of the best first-round games of a non-conference tournament, and I'll be there for that when they take on Iowa State in Maui. A week or two, let's see, what today is, Monday. It'll be 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today, they will be taking on Iowa State in Maui. At 6, Duke. Duke is absolutely obliterating its opponents. So again, you see the same 6 that I have, actually the same 7, because I have Iowa State at 7, just like AP Top 25. I just had Duke 5, Auburn 6, based on, even though Auburn had a better win over Houston, Duke's just absolutely crushing teams right now. I know it was Maine and Army. Still, they look the part. Houston at 8 in the AP Top 25 poll. This game was in the city of Houston that they lost to Auburn. So I dropped them a little bit, you'll see. But again, Houston has the goods to potentially win the Big 12 challenge. Iowa State, Kansas, Baylor, multiple teams that they could certainly, and they will, be in the thick of the race. And Houston also will have a game against Alabama in Las Vegas. So, and Houston's going to play Rutgers. So there's a lot of games coming up for the Cougars. 9, Arizona. I have Arizona, as you see, not in my top 12. They've been crushing teams, but it's been lower level. I'm waiting to see the Wildcats when they go to Wisconsin Friday. I will be there. So I have Arizona at 13, a little bit lower. It's a reshuffled Arizona, but I don't have a problem with them in the top 10. They are a top 10 team, but they haven't played a high level yet. We'll see. If they beat Wisconsin handily, that's a different story. So North Carolina at 10. I also have North Carolina in my top 10. The Tar Heels did not play well in the first half, but an unbelievable comeback from 20 points down to take the lead at Fog Allen, which is pretty remarkable to do. So the Tar Heels get a lot of credit for that. and they've got a great schedule as well. I'm going to see them a week from Friday at Hawaii on the way to Maui. And then in Maui, they're going to play Dayton. They're on the same side with Auburn and Iowa State. Other side is UConn, Colorado, Michigan State, and Memphis. It's actually UConn, Memphis, and Michigan State and Colorado. So, I got Carolina 8. They're 10 here. I have Tennessee 9 after beating Louisville by 22. Tennessee is at 11. Baylor's at 12. I dropped Baylor a little bit because they did lose 101-63, even though Baylor had a good win over Arkansas in Dallas. I dropped them to 16 because they lost by, how's my math here? 38 points, if I got that right. So you gotta ding them a little bit for that, as good as Gonzaga is. So Purdue at 13. I think that's sort of where they are. They lose Daniel Jacobson, their 7'4" center. Really disappointing for him and for the Boilermakers. 7'4". He had a great first game. He was expected to have a major impact up front for the Boilermakers. Will they go with Will Berg? Can Trey Kaufman-Renn and Caleb First step up? Will they go smaller? We'll have to wait and see. So I have Indiana, ahead of Purdue. We're going to get to them momentarily. Indiana's 12 for me. Creighton 11 for me. Creighton is 14 in the AP Top 25. Again, crushing opponents behind Ryan Kalkbrenner. We will talk about that here in a moment. So I have Creighton a little bit higher. Marquette 15. I think it's a little high right now. David Joplin playing really well for the Golden Eagles. I think Cam Jones could be a player of the year candidate. I have them outside the top 25 at 32. And I know Marquette fans will get on me about that. We'll see how they do against the 3 Big Ten teams they're going to be playing. They've got Purdue. First up, they got Maryland. And of course they have their rivalry game with Wisconsin. So a little high for me. Indiana at 16. I have Indiana at 12. Mackenzie Mbako right now could be Big Ten Player of the Year the way he's playing. He has been phenomenal. As you see them, I have him at 12. The Hoosiers recruited well in the portal, and I have changed my opinion now, and now they're my new favorite in the Big Ten 1 week in. It's fluid. So I have them at 12. Cincinnati 17. I have Cincinnati 21. I'm fine either way with that. Look, Arkansas at 18. I dropped Arkansas. They lost to Baylor in Dallas. They didn't play as well. I know it was a 5-point game, but I think they needed to be dropped a little. Kentucky at 19. Kentucky's playing better than Arkansas. I would flip that and have Kentucky a little bit higher than that. Florida at 20. Again, Walter Clayton Jr. and Will Richard are scoring well for the Gators. Tonight's game, tonight meaning Monday night, Todd Golden will coach Florida despite being under a Title IX investigation. So we'll see if that derails Florida in any way. Is it a hindrance, an obstacle in some form or fashion of the on-court situation? We shall see. So I don't have a problem with them there. I've got Florida at 19. I have New Mexico at 20. Okay. They have Florida and then Ohio State. I actually had Ohio State at 14. So let me talk about those two schools for a minute here. Ohio State, they go to Las Vegas and they beat Texas. John Mobley comes off the bench, scores well. Bruce Thornton, Michi Johnson. They've got all the pieces, Jake Diebler does, of a team that could compete in the top 3 to 4 in the Big Ten. That was a great win to open the season on TNT Monday night in Vegas. So they should be right in the top 20, 21. New Mexico, which you don't see here. All right. Did people go to bed Friday night? Did they not see that New Mexico led wire to wire against UCLA? UCLA was ranked. Okay. So New Mexico, who was in the tournament last year under Richard Pitino, Donovan Dent, Nelly Jr. Joseph. That's a 1-2 punch. That's as good as any in the country. Do they have the depth? No. But this is a team that can score, defend. They've limited turnovers. By the way, they forced 21 UCLA turnovers. Where is New Mexico? They should be in this top 25. They constantly have to work extra hard to get recognized. Stop going to sleep early. Game was in Vegas. They beat UCLA. That should count for something here. People are asleep, not paying attention. Because here, Texas A&M lost at UCF. Now, I gave UCF credit for that, and I put them at 25. I dropped out Texas A&M. As you can see, UCLA out, A&M out. Providence was right at the end. I moved them out to move someone in, you'll see. But A&M shouldn't be ranked, okay? They should not be ranked. They lose at UCF. Nothing embarrassing about that, but we are 1 week in. How do they stay in the poll? And New Mexico, which beat a ranked team, is not in the poll. UCF, which beat Texas A&M, is not in the poll. Who's doing the voting here? Are you not paying attention the first week of the season to what is happening across the country? Was A&M UCF, a game that was on a major network and you couldn't turn it away? No, but if you're paying attention and you're a poll voter, you would see UCF won. There was a court storming. New Mexico, UCLA. Yes, it was Friday night. Shouldn't you track that? This poll is Monday. Your vote is in on Sunday. It happened Friday night. Where are they? St. John's at 22. Fine. I'm not sold yet on them. As you see them, I got them 36. Yeah, I did the game when St. John's beat Rutgers in an exhibition. USC beat Gonzaga handily in exhibition. Does that mean USC is better than Gonzaga? No. The exhibitions don't mean anything. So you got 22-24 with Rutgers. Rutgers, Ace Bailey didn't play in their one game. So I'm fine having them in the top 25. Let's just judge them a little bit more. I have them in the top 25 once they're whole. And their schedule is going to pick up, obviously, when they're in Vegas in 2 weeks. Ole Miss, great sign for Ole Miss is that Matthew Morrell, all SEC player, was not the leading scorer. And he's like 4th on this team right now. So they're getting good balance. So you see Rutgers, I have 23. Illinois, I have 22. They weren't ranked in the preseason. I think they deserve it. Will Riley at 31 in their first game. Texas Tech, 24. I'm going to stay on this New Mexico bandwagon because JT Toppin, transfer from New Mexico, is averaging 22 points and 7.5 boards. Where is Texas Tech? Where are they? At UCF, I have a 25. Jordan Ivy Curry, transfer from UTSA. He's their leading scorer. I dropped Arkansas to 26. Boogie Fland, obviously a good player for them. I have Clemson at 27. Let's not forget they were in the Elite Eight. Michigan State, I'll see them Tuesday night in Atlanta against Kansas, 28. Xavier at 29. Ryan Conwell, transfer from South Florida, and then Indiana State, and he's their scorer. Wake Forest, good win over Michigan. Hunter Salas is living up to the preseason hype. I dropped Texas to 31 after losing, but Trey Johnson, he's legit. Okay, he had 28 in their second game against Houston Christian. Then Marquette, fine, criticize me, but I'm waiting. VCU at 33, they're the A10 favorite, and they beat BC handily in Annapolis. Ole Miss, I don't have ranked in the top 25, and you can criticize me, but I've got them in my 36. I want to see their schedule improve here. Mississippi State, right there with them. They're 95 and 101 points so far. Then I got St. John's and K-State. K-State's going to play LSU. So I dropped out UCLA, A&M, and Providence. I considered BYU, Maryland, and North Florida. Why did I consider North Florida? Well, drum roll. I'm going to segue this into, actually, pause. Why did I have Creighton's, high up? And that's because we had their player of the week. Okay. Player of the week is, you'll see here on your screen momentarily. There he is. Sorry about that. I had my order mixed up. Ryan Kalkbrenner. So let's say, what did Ryan Kalkbrenner do this week? Well, Ryan Kalkbrenner scored 49 and grabbed 11 boards against Rio Grande. Then against FDU, he had 24 and 6. He's a 3-time Big East Defensive Player of the Year, but he's been a dominant offensive player as well. And so it was an easy decision. My team of the week, that's what I segued there. One of the teams I had under consideration. What a week Matthew Driscoll had with the Ospreys of North Florida. 3-0. They won by games at South Carolina and at Georgia Tech. Why is that significant? Because North Florida is going to be in the mix to win the Atlantic Sun with probably Austin Peay, which won at Butler. And we say this every year. Oh, this team came out of nowhere. But you know what? They didn't. And so North Florida is going to be a team to track. Same with Austin Peay out of the Atlantic Sun, because those are the teams that get a 14 seed. You might be picking them for an upset. There were a couple other teams this week. Central Connecticut out of the NEC. They beat a preseason top 5 A10 team in St. Joe's. Vermont had an interesting week. They go down and win at UAB, the favorite in the American, and then they lose to Auburn. They could definitely be, again, winners of the American East and a team that could win a game. Columbia, not favored to win the Ivy, yet they won at Villanova. Just keep an eye on the Lions. And San Francisco. Could they challenge St. Mary's for second? Maybe in the WCC. But they had a great win over Mountain West Conference favorite Boise State. They beat them by 11. Before we get to some questions or games of the week, before that, I just want to say, you saw under consideration was BYU. And one of the reasons is freshman Igor Demon. Egor, I got to figure out, make sure I pronounce this correctly. He's going to be a lottery pick. He's going to be a potentially top 5 pick. The Russian is averaging 19 and 9 assists in 2 games. So keep an eye on this BYU star, without question. So now let's segue to games to watch this week or events. My top 10, let's start with the Champions Classic. You've got Duke and Kentucky, always a great matchup. First time we got Mark Pope and John Shire, so it's a little different than Coach K and Cal. But Cooper Flagg, Jackson Robinson, Con Knipple, Kobe Brea. There's going to be star factors on the court at State Farm Arena in Atlanta. I will be there for that. And then Michigan State, Kansas. I mean, Kansas is coming off an emotional home win Friday night against North Carolina. Michigan State, we don't know how good they are. It's huge that Jackson Kohler had a good game because he's going to need to do that against Hunter Dickinson. So, and Jaden Akins, who's been playing well, he's going to have to shoot the basketball well. Then this doubleheader on Peacock on Friday. I'm going to be at Arizona at Wisconsin, but earlier in the night, you've got Alabama at Purdue. Purdue's not going to be whole anymore because of Daniel Jacobson not healthy. And this will be a big test. Braden Smith, Mark Sears, 2 Final Four teams. Alabama's trending a little bit better right now than Purdue. But it's at Mackey. So we'll see how Alabama handles that. This is a huge test for Wisconsin. We don't know how good they are. They're really high in John Tonje, the Colorado State, Missouri transfer, scoring well for the Badgers. But Arizona crushed them last year, ripping and running, and it'll be difficult. I mentioned Marquette. Marquette's at Maryland. Maryland with Derek Queen, who had 22 and 20 in his first game. Jacoby Gillespie, transfer from Belmont, has played really well. Rodney Rice had 28 in their second game. So big game for both schools about where they are. Ohio State at Texas A&M. So 2 ranked teams. Now let's see A&M. You lose at UCF. Can you defend your home court against Ohio State? Wake Forest at Xavier. Xavier, one of the top 3 teams in the Big East in the preseason. Wake Forest coming off a home win over Michigan. Good test. Backyard brawl, West Virginia at Pitt. I'm glad they're playing this again. Tucker DeVries had a great game playing for his dad, Darren, at West Virginia. And Pitt's been sneaky good the last couple of years under Jeff Capel. New Mexico versus St. John's. I'm really glad that the Patinos are playing this game. I covered for ESPN. We did a game in Puerto Rico when it was Richard Patino at Minnesota and Rick at Louisville. Won by Rick. Now this time we've got New Mexico and coming in hot at Madison Square Garden against St. John's. So this will be a good test for both schools. TCU at Michigan. I threw this one up there because I want to see where these 2 schools are at. I like this matchup. It's going to be good guard play. Danny Wolf has played really well for Michigan, but I think it's a good barometer game. I think Michigan could be a tournament team. And then Grand Canyon versus Arizona State. Grand Canyon, the preseason favorite out of the WAC. Tyson Grant Foster is going to be one of the better players in the country at his position. And this game's in Phoenix where the Suns play. So it's not in Tempe. And Arizona State, again, how much do scrimmages matter? They lost by like 60 at Duke, and they played really well since then. Almost taking out Gonzaga at the Kennel on Sunday night. So good test for them. So let's get to a couple questions out there. So BYU, Michigan State, Maryland, Illinois should be ranked. I agree. I had Illinois in there. Let's see where I had Illinois again. I had Illinois at 22. Maryland and BYU had just out. Michigan State 28. You can make arguments in the back part of the top 25 or in this Power 37. Remember, it's 37 because there are 37 at-large berths in this tournament with no Pac-12. How does Bama not drop? Well, they did drop in mine from 1 to 2. They stayed at 2, but they haven't lost a game. They just haven't played elite competition, which they will. What about Providence? Well, the Friars got a major scare in their first game against Central Connecticut. They don't have Bryce Hopkins yet, so I want to reserve judgment. Ohio State is a sleeper team from the preseason, but they're going to be a contender in the Big Ten. Should Memphis be ranked? Did beat Missouri? Not yet. Let's see what happens in Maui. Mississippi State better than Ole Miss. That's a fair assessment. I have them really one after the other in my Power 37. What do I think of the Zags? 2 Big 12 wins. First of all, it's hard to get used to that Arizona State as a Big 12 win, but yes, very impressive. Memphis, I'm looking forward to seeing them, in Maui to get a full face-to-face opinion. So I'm going to reserve judgment yet. Is Auburn's win over Houston the biggest win in the country so far? It's in the top 3. I may lean Gonzaga over Baylor because the margin. I mean, Baylor could win the whole thing. So could Houston, but I just think the margin just is eye-popping. Is Indiana the best team in the Big Ten right now? Yes. Is Michigan a tournament team? I think they definitely can get there. Roddy Gale and Danny Wolf is a great 1-2 combination. Is Maryland beating Marquette on Friday? I'm going to say yes. Who's winning, Kentucky or Duke? I'll say Duke. Is Flagg the best since Cooper Flagg the best since Zion Williamson or best since Anthony Davis at Duke? Well, Anthony Davis played at Kentucky, so he's definitely the best since Zion Williamson. And he's probably the most hyped freshman since Zion Williamson, which was 2019, the year before the pandemic. So we're looking at 5 years ago. We'll be 6 years come the spring. Strongest conference. I had the SEC in the preseason. I think so far after a week, it's probably the Big 12. So it's going to be Big 12 SEC, probably 1 and 2. I would say that's probably where it'll be. They'll go back and forth. All right. Again, Ryan Kalkbrenner, my National March Madness Player of the Week from Creighton, 49 in his opener. North Florida with by-game wins over Georgia Tech and South Carolina. They are the team of the week. You saw your games to watch. Your top 25. I'm at power 37. One last question here. What is UConn missing this year? A lottery pick and a rim protector. Samson Johnson certainly can be that. But look, they're going to be in the mix. They're just not as good. But they could win the league and get to the Final Four. And then you can win it. But I'm not going to predict them to win it at this point. Still a remarkable run. Haven't lost since 2022 first round against New Mexico State. My itinerary this week, I will be in Atlanta Tuesday for the doubleheader Champions Classic. Wednesday, icons of the game at Nassau Coliseum. We've got Hofstra and Seton Hall. Hofstra, by the way, I think they're going to win the Colonial. Louisiana Tech, I think they'll win Conference USA, taking on UMass. Then Friday, Arizona at Wisconsin. So a good week to recap next Monday when we chat again, 1 o'clock Eastern time, right here on the Bleacher Report app. Thanks to our producer, Caitlin Schmidt, and everyone in New York and Atlanta. Keep the questions coming. You can follow me at the Andy Katz on Twitter X. I'm sorry, it's what it is to me. Or at the real Andy Katz. Oh, I'm sorry. At the real Andy Katz on, boy, I gotta get this right. At the Andy Katz on Twitter X and at the real Andy Katz on Instagram. So check it out there and check out all our social media content on all our platforms, including ncaa.com. Thanks for watching and engaging on this Monday.